Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today we have Bold Group. Most of you, anyone signing up for this webinar, I'm sure knows who they are. Long time providers or vendors in the industry with a long history of great product. And here they are to discuss what they currently have. I understand there's at least 3 products that they have. I'll let them, they're prepared with a thorough webinar to tell you all about themselves and what they do and why you should be using them. And I just want to remind you, all webinars are being recorded. We've been pretty successful getting them up on our website within a day or so. So you'll be able to watch this again, or if you know someone who's missed it, you'll be able to watch it for as long as I'm around and paying our website charges. So it'll be there, okay? And so we have everyone's name is there, so I don't have to introduce them. I know that Allison is the president of the company, and I know that Julie is the products manager, and sales engineer. Okay, so now you have their names. We'll be sure to get you their cell numbers and home numbers so you can reach them at any time. Only kidding on that, folks. Don't worry. And so I'm going to turn this over to them. And they already have the control to do that. So Julie, you can take over and maximize your screen, I guess, for them. And I'm going to be getting off now.
Great, thank you so much,
folks. Hold your questions or put your questions in the question room, and I will be reading it to them at the end of their presentation, unless I think that there's some reason to interrupt and give a question that needs to be answered right away. Okay, see you all at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Great. Allison?
Great. Thank you very much, Ken, for the introduction. I'm Allison Forsyth. I'm the president of Bold Group, and I'm excited to be here. I want to thank everyone for their participation today. With me and presenting to this audience today is Julie Lichty, who is the Senior Vice President of Product Management for Bold Group, as well as Steve Featherston, who is a Senior Sales Engineer. I'm super excited to be here with my colleagues today. We're going to give you a little bit of an overview of the history of Bold Group. Many of you all, I'm sure, are very familiar with our transformation and transition that's been underway. We're also going to talk a little bit about our newest business management solution that's in market today, Managely, and then also talk about support and services, and finally a product overview and a navigation and demo of the solution. So with all of that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Julie Lichty, the Senior Vice President of Product Management for Bold. Julie?
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be here with you on Friday. Thank you so much for your time, and certainly appreciate Mr. Kirschenbaum for giving us the forum to share this information with you. And let me just start off by saying that it's an honor to be here. Bold Group is a very long tenured product set and organization that has been in the industry for greater than 40 years. We've created a set of solutions that are very specific and tailored for the security industry and the alarm monitoring space. We really have tried to focus in on every kind of segment of the business, whether it's a security dealer, an integrator, a central station, and everything in between. So we look forward to talking to you today a little bit about what we do, what we have, and where we're going. We're a small but mighty organization of about 130 plus people in the organization, distributed all throughout the United States and Canada, and look forward to serving customers not only here in the United States, Canada, but all around the world. We're a very well represented software solution across the entire earth, so that's cool. Just to talk a little bit about it, I mentioned that we've been in business for over 40 years. We really feel as though we represent the top 60 out of the 100 of the security companies are currently our customers. We are seated today in over 800 plus monitoring centers worldwide. And we really have focused on building a long tenured relationship with our customers. And I know that there's been some questions that have been posed on the blog recently about our commitment to the business and certainly into the space of business management, which we'll touch on in this presentation. This is really about building a long-standing relationship that allows you to grow with us, whether it's on the alarm monitoring side or the business management side. We want to become a trusted partner of that. So let me just give you guys a little bit of a background about where we come from and where we are today. So back in 1981, Bold was formed, and then multiple entities make up the Bold Group. We are represented with Bold Technologies. We acquired SIMS, Perennial Software, which represents the business management side of the house. And we also have SGS, which represented the alarm monitoring side of the house. And it was in the time period of 2018 through 2019 that there was an acquisition phase that EverCommerce did to bring these multiple entities into one consolidated business unit called Bold Group. And that did comprise of SIMS, Perennial, Bold Group, and SGS. And as a result of that, we've really gone through kind of a product rationalization of trying to bring these companies together, bringing their technologies together, and trying to drive synergies. And in doing that, we really started to build out this notion of changing from being kind of founder-led, engineering-led into a product-led organization. And why does that matter to you? Well, the reason it matters to you is that it's anchored in an approach around being representative of the voice of the customer. My job was to get out and talk to folks and find out what is it that our software is doing well, what does our software need to do better, and how could we create a platform that was going to be very meaningful for you. And that's why we introduced Managely in April of 2022. It was a genesis of many years of lots of product, in market with Sedona and with Alarm Biller, and then really finding out from our customers what we could do better. I want to give you guys a little bit of line of sight about what does our product portfolio look like, just so that we're all anchored in the same thing and we're talking about it in the same way. So as I mentioned, we're really broken up into two halves of our product portfolio. The one half being our alarm monitoring software, and that is representative of Stages, Manitou, and SIMS. And on the other half is our business management solution. And again, that's where we started our roots within Alarm Biller and Sedona Office, and now migrating into Managely. What you'll note is that we also have a very robust representation of mobile apps that support our various products on both sides of the product portfolio. Again, we're really focusing in on a software solution that will be able to support this unique industry and this niche that is really representative of our security space. And again, turnkey in terms of its approach from alarm monitoring and shaking hands with the business management side so that you can effectively run your business. I want to address a little bit around who we serve. I think it's very important to understand that there's many constituencies in our customer base, and it starts with the security dealers and the integrators. Certainly those folks that are going to do installations on the both residential and the commercial side of the house. We've extended into the security space around central stations and those that are doing full service installation and monitoring, again, both in residential and commercial. And then we've really found a lot more extensibility into the proprietary or the commercial space, which also includes government and education. So we feel as though we're representing the entire market with our various products that we have available to us today. And hopefully we can share a little bit more about that in the coming slides. So I do want to share with you that, our organization is very deep in a lot of knowledge and certainly escalation points for you in the business if you need to do so. Allison has already introduced herself as our president. Again, I represent the product management side of the house, which is a very important conduit for our customers to be able to talk about things that are occurring in the business, trends that they're seeing, how our product needs to pivot to be able to support those trends, new innovations to be able to make transacting in your business more efficient. And that's really where our Voice of Customer program has anchored itself. And so we talk to our customers regularly. I actually formed our very first customer advisory board 2 years ago, and that is a trusted set of advisors that represents the entire industry. These individuals come and talk to us about product innovation, about trends, about things that we could be focusing on, and just general need. We then couple that with a lot of focus around talking to customers. We do what we call voice of customer interviews. That occurs every quarter between 4 and 6 on each product line that we represent. A little bit more about Derek Oakes. He's our software development senior vice president. Derek joined us with a very extensive background of software development. Plus, he comes with a very strong ERP background. He has developed many ERP systems. And so having him join really helps us build out our software development capabilities and technology innovations that we're going to bring into the product line. Many of you probably know Justin DeBadges, who is our Senior Director of Sales and Business Management side of the house. Justin has been in the industry for, I think, greater than a decade. I don't know that he would want me to say that. I think he was 12 when he started, but he is also somebody that many of you know and can be reached. Not too long ago, we brought Fiona Beckstrom in to handle the customer support side of our business management. And Fiona, like some of the other folks on our leadership team, comes with an ERP background. She has reorganized our customer support organization and really is starting to upskill the talent there. And I know that that's been a point of contention for folks on the blog. So we'll touch about support in a coming slide. But Fiona is very committed to being customer first and customer focused. And so she's another touch point in the business. One of the things that we found as a need in the business was really to focus in on our training and keeping that very current and very fresh. So we brought Jen Kirst into the business to be able to help us build out our knowledge base and the tool set that we use for training both virtually, in person, as well as in a self-service capacity. Again, a little bit more to come on that in the coming slides. And then we know that onboarding our customers when they sign up with us is a very pivotal part of our relationship building. And Josh Williams is somebody that comes from the security industry. He is helping us transform our professional services organization so that we can drive the most, excellent engagement with you at the early onset of our relationship with you in terms of standing your software solution up and everything in between. These folks are people that we'll be able to give you more information on in the coming slides, but I just wanted to introduce you to those individuals. I would just ask Allison, do you feel like there's anything you want to add to the leadership team, Allison, or did I cover it all pretty well?
No, Jolie, I think you did a great job. Thank you very much. But for our audience, I will just reinforce the message that Julie delivered, that I've built a very senior leadership team that comes with significant industry experience, whether that's specifically from the security industry or with a very, very strong ERP background. Derek Oakes, who she mentioned, is the newest leader on our team. He joined in early February, and he has built ERP solutions throughout his tenured career and also transformed legacy ERP solutions into very modern, sexy applications to meet the needs of business owners today. So there's been a lot of diligence and focus placed on filling out this management team that brings great skill sets and unique value to our customers moving forward. So Julie, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great, thanks, Allison. So it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Managely. Managely is definitely a product that is scalable. It's an all-in-one business management solution that's really been designed specifically for the security space. We wanted to make sure that we gave security dealers of any size the tools and insights that they need to streamline their business operations, increase profitability, and drive growth. By bringing that all together, whether it's accounting, inventory, work orders, project management, scheduling, etc. It was meant to be a one-stop place for you to engage your business. Managely helps security dealers by gaining greater control over their business and deliver more value to their customers. So let me give you a little bit more about why we developed Managely. Again, with a voice of customer approach, we really heard that, Sedona was a great product. It was very industrialized, but it was very old in terms of its user experience. It was a bit tired. It was a lot more click, click, click through things, and the navigation was a little bit more cumbersome. So we really wanted to drive a solution that was about driving employee efficiency and maximizing that efficiency. Additionally, we've heard from customers, as a result of the pandemic, finding qualified employees that would stay was a challenge. And so you had to do more with less. And we really took that as a key part of why we wanted to go and create a next gen solution in Managely. Obviously, cost is always a concern for any business, and so we really wanted to reduce the number of standalone applications that an organization would need to use. Many of them told us that they were using upwards of like 9 different applications to transact. Well, we wanted to consolidate all of that down into one system so that you could get the most value out of your investment in a business management software. And then at the end of the day, it comes down to an executive wants to have greater control over their business. And that's where Managely really kind of anchors itself, is that it gives you that ability to drive all kinds of transactions that you need to do in your business, and have that all centralized out of one area so that you can have control and focus on where your business is going and the health and well-being of your business. Let me just talk to you for a moment around some of the design philosophies. And I think it's an important part, right? So when we designed Managely, we sought to, have a consultant come in and really help us with user interface layout and expertise so that we could take the feedback we were receiving from customers and optimize that into our next gen solution. Managely allows for you to have a very configurable environment. Everything from a color palette theme editor. So if you want to have the presentation to your customers and to your employees with a color palette of purple and bright lime green, you can do that. It's completely customizable for you to do that. If you want to include your website, your logo onto this site, you have the capability to do that as well. It is allowing you to be able to then configure the business management software to work how your business operates. And I think that's a very important point. We also designed it such that it was accessible anywhere, anytime, however you compute, whether you're on your laptop or on a smartphone, you have the capabilities to access that system. We built it in a tech stack that allows it to load very quickly and transition from screen to screen very rapidly. So we see that it's a very responsive application. A lot of what we heard from our customers was that the navigation that we had in our legacy products, again, required a lot of clicks and movement through, and there was a lot of time invested in training those individuals to operate in that software. So we wanted to create an intuitive system that was very easy to learn and very easy to deploy, and focused on that from a simplicity standpoint. One of the other things you'll hear from us today is that it is a very scalable solution, meaning that you can move very seamlessly from one tier to the next and have no problems with changing back-end databases, because we don't need to do that. It's all configurable through a license, just unlocking additional feature sets for you. We focused on, again, from a usability perspective, we created a lot of iconology, meaning you can find things with the icons, or it has a very nice tree that you can navigate from the left-hand side of the navigation, which we're going to show you a little bit more in real time in the coming moments. I think it's very important to note that we heard from our customer base that we needed to have screens that were designed for ad hoc reporting. We needed to have screens that were really representative of a grid layout, because that is how you transact. And you'll see that in the software solution that we present today. And the last thing is that we created this with a very high contrast approach in order to drive ease of seeing things on the screen, but also to reduce eye fatigue. So those are the things that we went into designing Managely kind of as a philosophical approach, and you'll see that in the software solution itself. Let me talk to you a little bit around why it's been built specifically for security dealers. So Managely really is a comprehensive set of tools for billing capabilities, whether it's from invoice generation and automation to configuring rate increases to control over how all of that is presented from a charge perspective. It was also important to note that we wanted to have a robust accounting toolbox, and we feel like we have an industry-leading accounting capabilities that are driving that reoccurring billing, strategic information that would be sent out, and really giving you control over your business. One of the things that we're seeing as a trend in the industry is that many of you are interested in reputation management. Many of you are listing your products and services out on, Google, Yelp, and other kinds of platforms such as that. We have the ability to provide you that reputation management integration with our sister company called Pulse M. So if you want to be able to send out information in advance to your customer about the technician that's going to be coming, and give them an opportunity to pre-introduce themselves through this connection, we are able to do that. But the more important part is the follow-up. After that technician leaves, how did that technician do? Would that customer, give you guys 5-star review on Yelp, for example? And if they are, obviously we will help push that out to Yelp. But if there is some sort of dissatisfaction by the customer, this allows for you to have some insight into your technician, what they did, and perhaps use that as a training follow-up or a remediation plan to be able to help that technician serve your customer base better. Again, field management we recognize as an extremely important part of the total solution that our customers are providing to their end customers. So again, having an integrated field management solution allows users to more easily schedule and dispatch those technicians out to the field. All of this is hosted in a cloud environment so that you have AWS redundancies behind you and the capability to scale as you need. I want to touch on one thing that I'm very, very excited about and feel very proud that's integrated directly into Managely, and that is being able to present Microsoft Power BI as our data decisioning tool. It is something that I think more and more organizations have shared with us that they too are leaning into Power BI. And what I love about Power BI is that it gives you dashboarding capabilities right at your fingertips, natively built into the application. It allows you to then decide what people see based on their permissions that they have in the business. So as a CEO, perhaps you would want to see everything that's going on in the business, and I suspect you would. Whereas somebody, for example, that is managing more of like the service side of the business would really be more keen to see service tickets and service dollars that are being driven and the kinds of time spent on calls, etc. So we have various views that allows for you to then decide, again, as a part of your business setup, what people see and based on their permissions, for example. Each one of these little boxes represents a widget, and each widget really has a very deep set of data that it gets behind it. So you could drill down from a very high level into a specific account with just a couple of clicks of the button. Additionally, each one of these widgets is really a custom report that you are able to then convert into kind of a historical perspective. But the power of Microsoft Power BI that is afforded in Managely is it takes you from that very historical perspective into a much more predictive state. So you can go from historical to prescriptive. So what do we do differently to that predictive state? I think it's also important to note that as an executive in a business, you need to know about trends before they become historical. And that is also something that Power BI is going to afford you, is that you're going to be able to see how things are transacting day to day. And if you see things getting off course, you're going to be able to course correct before anything becomes historical. So that's a very valuable tool that is natively built within Microsoft Power BI. I think the other thing that I get really excited about is that we've heard from our customers that while they loved our legacy products, oftentimes you had to navigate between other sub products. And so one of the things that we purposely did with Managely was to create a comprehensive set of features that were native within the application. Everything is all seated right within Managely and gives you access to all of it in real time, right from one click of the button. So we do talk about in business intelligence and the dashboarding, but again, you're going to have full capabilities, recurring billing, you're going to have CRM, you're going to have inventory management, you're going to be able to have a mobile app that will then integrate. All of these things are going to give you a very comprehensive platform to work from and transact your business from. Let me talk a little bit about our tiering system, because I think this is something that is very different and unique about Managely. I think I've already stressed the point, but for sake of being very clear, I want to say this again. Managely is built on one database, and you can start at our Essentials platform, which is really designed for small to medium-sized businesses to drive value in your business from day one. You can then migrate up to our Pro version, which is all of the functionality in Essentials, but it's adding additional licenses, additional features for that organization that is aspiring to grow into greatness. And then into Enterprise with simply a configuration change. There is no database change, there is no redeployment. It is simply unlocking additional features for you. And I think it's great because we are seeing you grow. We are seeing your organizations go from kind of that small to medium-sized business, and there's been a tremendous amount of M&A that's gone on in this business, a lot of consolidation that's gone on in this business, and you can migrate to an enterprise solution very, very seamlessly. And I think that that's a real differentiation for Managely over other products that are in market today. Now, I want to talk about service and support, because this is probably where we hear the most from our customer base, and I want to hit this right head on. We have a set of services and support organization that really are turnkey in terms of what we're offering. And it starts from the time you sign a contract with our implementation team. They're going to come in and they're going to help you by assigning a project manager from day one. And that individual is going to help walk you through the implementation process. And that's going to include the installation of the software, the data collection, the data conversion, doing data reviews, which are key. Obviously the training that needs to go into it, and then converting you into a go live situation. But it does not stop there, right? We know that businesses today need to be able to have more. And so our professional services organizations available for our business customers to be able to do additional things, whether that's additional development, perhaps to be able to help you with your API integration, if you have a need for that. We have strategic consulting, where if you need to do like business process enhancements, you need somebody to help audit that and find efficiencies, we have a service to provide to you. Additionally, I touched a little bit on the training side of it. But again, training is such an important part of this, because what was happening in Sedona, what was happening in Alarm Biller has not been exactly replicated in Managely. We found ways to drive more efficiency. We found ways to make the process even more beneficial to the customers. So training becomes a very important part to the onboarding process to make sure you're understanding that translation between a legacy product and Managely if you are an existing customer, or if you're a net new customer to us, that you're learning all the powerful ways that you can transact in Managely. I do want to touch a little bit on our customer support organization. So this is a great organization that has been going through a transformation. They've been upskilling in terms of the kinds of support representatives that we've hired. We want them to be more technical, but the most important thing is that they are customer focused. They are available to provide phone support to you Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. This is also married together with our Network Operations Center, which is operating 24/7 for emergency support. And our support portal is always available 24/7 as well. So customers are able to then log in to the support portal, issue a support request, and then in those hours I just outlined, our phone support people will be back in touch with you. And I want to stress here that I think people have expressed concern that maybe they are not hearing back from support in a timely fashion, but I don't want you to think that support isn't transacting. They're actually going through and trying to replicate an issue that a customer has identified as potentially an issue. They're trying to then see if there's ways that they can, the support technician can solve that for that customer immediately. And then if not, then this will go into our software development lifecycle, which I'll touch on in just a moment. The other part of training that I want to highlight here is that we've started building out a very robust self-service knowledge base that are embedded natively within Managely. And we also have our Bold U. The self-service knowledge base, as we find any kind of issues or enhancements or whatnot, we're building these articles for you to be able to access so that you can try to solve your own issues right at your fingertips as you see fit. Or if you have a new employee perhaps that needs to get some additional training, they have modules available to them in the self-service knowledge base. So again, trying to create ways for you to transact with us that are very simple, very accessible, so that you have everything you need to keep transacting your business seamlessly. I do want to touch a little bit about our software development life cycle. And I think it's highly important to recognize that software development is a process, and it's one that we follow kind of a best practice approach like any other software company, whether we're, if you're dealing with Apple or Microsoft or any other software company, they're all going to follow what we call an SDLC, or software development lifecycle. And these 6 phases of a software development lifecycle are really key in understanding what's going on in the business and why we're taking the steps that we're taking. I just thought I'd share an interesting fact with you. All software companies, on an average, are having developers create 70 bugs per 1,000 lines of code. And often through this life cycle, many of those are caught internal before it even gets to a customer. But on average, in an industry of software, 15 bugs per 1,000 lines of code are going to find their way to the customer. And it takes 30 times longer to solve that bug than it does to write the line of code. And there's a reason for that. So let me talk a little bit about our process with our software development lifecycle so that you can appreciate where we're coming from. When we start to look at either a bug or a feature, we are going to do an initial analysis. And that's where we're really going to try to identify what the market need is. We're trying to deep dive into that to understand, is this a bug? Is this, how the software was developed? Is it doing what it was supposed to, etc. From there, we're going to define requirements around that and say, from a business standpoint, we need the software to do X, Y, and Z. From there, it is then sent to design, because there we're going to look at it from a UI, UX point of view. Do we need to change workflows? Do we need to change the design to make things more clear? And then it's also going to go to system architecture. And that's important because we want to make sure that we're linking things accurately, that we're driving efficiency in the software so that it is the most responsive and the most customer-friendly approach to how we should develop the software. Once that's all been done, then all of that gets passed down to our development organization. Our development organization is working in an agile format, which means that they're constantly creating feedback loops, and they're creating those in a 2-week window of time, or a sprint. And what they're going to do is take those business requirements and decompose those into user stories, which then translate into a story point. We consolidate as many story points as we can within that 2-week window of time, and then start the development process. Each developer is responsible for not only creating all of those story points, but they then create the code for it, and then ultimately create a unit test about that particular software code that's been developed. That unit test will then be used to make sure that that code is developed and working as much as it's supposed to, and if there's any kind of defects, they go back in the process and rework it. It's also important to note that our development organization does a code review, and that's where a peer will look at the code that's been developed, look at the unit tests, and making sure that everything is working as it should. Now, I shared with you that on average, 70 bugs are introduced per 1,000 lines of code. I think it's very important to note that we at Bold Group have created 685,000 lines of code for Managely thus far. But the great news is that we're actually in advance of that 70 bugs per 1,000 line. We're actually seeing better than that. We're at 32. So it's really important to note that we are working very hard to drive maturity into the product as quickly as possible. But Some bugs will still make their way into our QA organization. Again, they're going to go through in QA and look for bugs. They're going to find ways to suss those out through our regression testing and our automated testing. But as I stated, the industry as a whole, software, is still pushing out maybe around 15 bugs that get to customers. So not everything is caught, and that's probably where we're seeing feedback from you guys that we need to do better on our software. And so we'll touch on that in a moment. I want to acknowledge that though. From testing, it goes to deployment. And this is where we have our teams do internal demos to make sure that the software is behaving as it should. All the stakeholders understand it. We're creating the release notes that are going to go in front of the customers. We're also going to measure and monitor the application performance. This is where we're going to create logs to make sure that everything is operating as it should. And again, in case there is any defects, we know how we can trace that back better. We can see where things are misbehaving and go to try to resolve those much more rapidly. Finally, once we are ready to deploy, it then goes to our support organization. And from there, it's really what we classify as in a maintenance area. If there are issues that are identified, again, our support organization is going to prioritize those. They're going to investigate those. They're going to redeploy those requirements back into the process, and it starts all over again. So software development is something we take very seriously. We are working on building quality products, but I cannot guarantee that we are going to have a release that is 100% without defect, because that is just not the nature of software development as a whole. But we do very focus heavily on quality and building as many robust processes in our software development lifecycle to catch those before they get out in front of the customer. So with that, I would love to introduce Steve Featherston, who is one of our sales engineers, and give him the opportunity to give you a live demo about Managely and what's going on. So if you'll let me just change that over to Steve, I will let him take it over. Thank you so much for this time to share a little bit about what we're doing, and I'll have more conversation on the flip side of the demo. Steve?
Thank you, Julian. Great presentation. Let's see if I can't get a screen up here to show. So at this point, you should be seeing my screen. This is the Managely screen. Let me know if you're not. So it looks like we are. Okay, so I'm going to reinforce a few things that Julia said here. Managely is the latest release from Bold Group. It is built on a modern tech stack. It can be accessed from anywhere at any time. So it doesn't matter whether you're home or you're in the office or you're at a hotel using their business center. It is designed to kind of take a company from startup all the way up to an enterprise level. As long as I have my URL, my username, and my password, I should be able to log into the application. When we open up Managely, it opens up to a series of Microsoft Power BI dashboards. And as she has mentioned, it works off of roles and rights, so it knows who I am by who I've logged in as. If I'm somebody in management, I might be seeing the details of the financial information. If I'm somebody in service, I probably wouldn't. We're going to end up taking a walk through this application, be kind of a high level. We'll only really be scratching the surface of some of the features that are inside of here. I'm going to take us through Microsoft Power BI a bit. We're going to touch on the different menu functions that are over on the left so you get an idea how to navigate, maybe what it would look like if you were using it to answer questions about your customers. They're calling in. Right now, I'm looking at revenue types and trends. The blue line here is my work order revenue. The orange line is my recurring revenue. I'm looking at the last 3 years of data. It could have been the last 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. It's up to me. If I come over from one of our other products, I could have 6 years of data that we're looking at, so 2018 all the way out to 2023. As Julie's mentioned, a lot of things in Power BI are visual, so I can see my service revenue is kind of flat in 2020, 2021. Well, it started climbing up afterward. Our revenue for our recurring went a giant jump from 2022 to 2023. This is a point where we acquired another business, and right around here in 2020, this was maybe what I might call a COVID moment. We weren't sending texts out as often, but if I wanted to drill into this detail, double-clicking into that chart is going to give me those trendings for the last 6 years on the left-hand side by percentage, the right-hand side by dollar amount, and what we're seeing below are all the transactions that make up the bar charts that are above it. And these are all exportable if you want to pull them out into other details. So I'm able to see work order revenue, recurring revenue. If I wanted to focus on that time around COVID, grab that year 2020, all the data changes, and I'm just looking at what's there for 2020. If I'm somebody in the service side of things, I'm interested in how many open work orders that I have, maybe what my backlog would be. I've got roughly 2.5 months worth of work, depending upon the number of technicians I have. I do really like this revenue report that they put in here. This is showing where I'm making my money in installations and service. So you can see residential burglar alarm or installation of intrusion alarms is my highest. I did add guard service recently, about 2 months ago, to this. If I wanted to see what customers and invoices I've been working with for guard service, if I click on it, my data changes over here and shows me those customers. Get up to CCTV, I can see those installations that I've done. These reports are not just informational, you can actually use it to get your job done. If I'm somebody working in accounts receivable, for instance, I might be looking at something that looks like this. See how many customers I've added, how many have been terminated, what my top 10 and recurring is. These can all be drilled into, again, parameters up top control it. But where I can actually work with this is maybe on the aging side. Double clicking into the aging chart is going to show me that Billy Idle owes me the most money. 12,861 is over 90 days. If I wanted to contact him, clicking on that particular chart, it's going to give me his phone number and his email address. I could then work through the other ones that I'm dealing with here. If I've been told to focus on the oldest, people over 90 days, that would be this section of the chart. And of course, these are the people that I'm working with. So that's Power BI. There's a lot of reporting that's coming in the next 2 months as far as advanced reporting that'll augment the reports that we have in the system with Power BI type reporting, so you can do some drill down on everything and be able to utilize that. As far as the menu structure is concerned, this was designed to be super easy to use. Sedona is a great application, but it does take a fair amount of training for people to get used to it. Here, you should be able to get your employees up and running on it with a lot less training time. The menu structure is fairly simple. We've got 4 main menus. Accounts receivable is everything about your customers, their invoices, their payments, RMR, work orders. Proposals are built into this. We tried to make sure that all the tools a security company needs are native in the application as you open it up and start using it. So whether it's creating a proposal, delivering a proposal, PDF invoices, PDF statements automatically going out, notifying the customer and communications that they've got a service appointment or a tech's on the way. It's all built into the application. We're not bolting on any additional modules to make all of this work. Next module down is accounts payable. This would be everything about your vendors, everything about the purchase orders that you've got with them, invoices that you have from them that will turn into bills, payment runs, and we print checks for them. Inventory is the third module. If I kind of close one up, I can go right to the other. Be able to see that inventory is controlled in warehouses. We set up our components in here, do our issues and returns. We do support a variety of different return material authorizations inside of this. And the last major module has to do with delivery of what would be proposals or contracts. So e-forms, the ability to send somebody a contract or a proposal, have them execute that live in the system, and have it returned back and have it create customers and sites and systems and automation for you. That whole process is controlled and less data entry. So once you've got a prospect in place, it'll kind of walk through the whole process of turning them into a customer and so forth. This is a live general ledger application. If I were to click on the GL tab here and grab something exciting like accounts receivable, I can see all of my automated invoices that went out for October 1st. If I wanted to drill into one of those transactions, I should be able to see what GL accounts that was hit when those transpired. If I wanted to go to the invoice itself, there's a hyperlink on top. Pretty much everything inside of Managely is going to have this same look and feel to it. So I'm on invoice 4388, happens to be for Rod Stewart's 166 Main Street site, and it's a hierarchy. So I can click here to get to Rod. I can click here to get to the site. I can see the detail of the invoice. It was monitoring services, whatever taxation was involved with this. If Rod didn't get this invoice, I can go up to the delivery button and send that to him or any other email address he'd like to give me for this. If he'd like to take payment on it, go up and take payment up top here. We are directly connected to our merchant services processor, can pay this with a particular credit card. So there's a lot of automation and features in here that make life just kind of easy to work with. If I take us for a walk through what a customer card might look like, I'm going to grab an old friend, grab Travis up top here, open up his account. Again, everything in Managely kind of has the same look and feel to it. Travis, customer 1028, it's been with us since 2015, residential owner. He's got $30,000 of outstanding balance due there. Contact information, if I was talking to him on the phone and I needed to explain that balance due, I could just kind of hover over it It'll give me an idea that most of it's in open invoices. He has no open credits or unapplied payments and so forth. I can kind of work with this. He's got $7,000 in late fees, so if he'd like to make a payment today, I might be able to eliminate that. But all of the transactional detail is all in these gray tabs. Now, with our software for years, we've had a very strong structure of your company up top here. If you've got several branches, you can have different branches related. Your customers are associated to your branches to your main company. That way we can do financials on your entire organization or a specific branch. Under the customers themselves is the very typical arrangement we've always had. So you can have any number of sites. Travis happens to have 3 different sites, and in those sites you can have any number of systems. If I wanted to drill into this system, if he's asking me about some technicians I have going out to the Stages address to see this burglar alarm system, I could drill into this. This is the system level. We've got work orders out there for this, and the one he's asking about is the one we have Kathy and Dan headed out to. So this is a work order to have fire inspection done on this, and I can tell them that Kathy and Dan are both dispatched. They're using their mobile app. They're on their way to there, but they have not arrived. Have not seen the billable information start showing up in here. Again, I'm going to repeat about the hierarchy. Work order 2535, tied to the system, tied to the site, tied to the customer, can drill right back to the customer. Most everything inside of here is a click or two away. There's a lot of CRM related information inside of this gray tabs in the customer card. As we're looking at it, if he's asking about emails that were sent out, we can see all of his statements that were delivered automatically, invoices, potentially things related to rejected payment alerts. We're able to have visibility of that. Notes about the customer, documents about the customer, those are all up top here. We've got 6 documents related to it. Document management systems built into the whole application. So whether it's a customer, a vendor, a part, a site, a system, you're able to attach documents and notes pretty much to anything inside of the system as we're seeing it here. Contact information, work orders, bill tos. I can see how many proposals we have that are outstanding and live with him, and also every other proposal that we've sold to them. So the navigation's pretty slick when it comes to getting around inside of here. Do want to touch on it. I know we're running short on time, but I want to touch on a couple things that I think are super important. We do have a proposal engine built into this. We also integrate to the WeSuite application if you happen to be using that today. If I open up, if I open up proposal 4179, this is a Scott Lindsay. I've been working with this customer for a while. He's actually a prospect. We've quoted to him a bunch of times. He's never bought anything from us. If I right click on his name, I can open it up in a new tab. Should be able to see that record is a prospect record. I can see the proposals we've had with him, drill into them, get more detail. This particular proposal, I've got to set up for a certain number of components that we're going to sell them, an installation labor charge to it. We've got some RMR that'll be tied to it once it comes live, that system. We've got notes that could be related, so I need a scissor lift for the warehouse. I've got documents. These are things that the salesperson might record in the proposal. And if this actually turns into a work order, then all of this information will come over to the work order. So the parts, the labor, the RMR, the notes, the documents will all populate it for your operations team. I go up top here and use my search engine to go grab work orders. I think it's work order 6852 is one that I probably got a good example of. Opening that up, this is work order for John Malone, happens to be related to a proposal. So it's tied to proposal 4248. I could again right click and open that proposal in a new tab so I can go back and forth between the work order and the proposal. But as I'm looking at this, these parts came over from the proposal, the RMR came over, there may be some labor charges here. I could have a fuel surcharge related to this. I am able to see, what this is related to. So this is related to a particular system that we're installing, specifically this ZAQ 123 burglar alarm system. Again, the hierarchy here is set up. From here, if I were to create a prospect, create a proposal to it, and they sign that proposal, it'll end up creating that prospect as a customer. It'll end up populating, if I go to the proposal, it'll end up populating the customer, the site, the system. It'll create a work order to install it, much as we've just seen here with John Malone. I can bounce right back to the work order. And at this point, we'd probably want to start scheduling things. So at this, we're going to open up the calendar. We're going to see some technicians we have things scheduled for today. This is a drag and drop schedule board. So if I want to move this up by half an hour, it's going to want to notify the customer. It's going to want to notify the technician we've had some kind of schedule change. Justin's getting his truck serviced here in the morning. John's picking up parts at ADI. This schedule board can show the day, the week, the month, technician view. I can add filters to this to make it any way I want. So if I want to see just my senior techs or my junior techs, I could. If I'm focusing on only my techs that are in New Jersey versus my techs that are in New York, or maybe techs that have certain skill sets like CCTV group, I can schedule them based upon all of that information. These gray boxes here are appointments. Appointments glue together a whole bunch of data points. So the technician, to the date and time he's going to be there, to the customer, to the work order, to the type of work that they're doing, to the problem that they're having. Because there's so many data points tied to this, I can open the customer, the work order, the system, notify the customer, send what would be a calendar appointment to the technician if I'm not using the mobile app. In my example, we're going to open up the work order. This is work order 4716. This is an installation we're doing for Dave Whiting. So you're seeing it here. And what this might look like for the technician, if I'm able to bring up a mobile app, we'll see if this works for me, is the work order for the technician looks something like this. So here's work order 4716, and it mimics what we're seeing on the screen in back of us, just a slightly different view. Here's appointments, there's appointments. Here's items, parts. If I go over to the documents, he's got 8 documents up top here. If I go up top and search for my documents, I should be able to open up those 8 documents. Should be able to open up those 8 documents, yeah. If I wanted to go to notes, should be able to see notes, and I'm sorry, I waited too long on my login here. So I'm gonna just log back into this, because I had this sitting open all morning, and my apologies.
Okay, Steve, it shows that we have security built in here, so you can't sit around too long and have information accessible.
It will log you back out, kind of knock you off of that. We can dispatch from here. If I go back to this calendar and I wanted to actually show that technician and that application, the appointment that he's on, I'd be able to go to the mobile application and say, you know what, I'd like to dispatch to that particular work order. That'll be this one here. It's going to end up bringing me up a date and a time box for me to dispatch. I can either notify the customer that I'm on my way there or not. That'll end up refreshing the mobile app. You'll see the next step for that technician is to arrive. And what's going to happen at the home office is as the schedule refreshes about every 5 minutes, you're going to see that he's actually dispatched. It'll turn to green. It'll show that he's arrived. It'll do the completion of the ticket. It'll turn red when it's completed. When I do get into that work order, all of these documents will be visible to the technician. So whether it's a site map, or whether it's a picture of my installation or it's a copy of the proposal, those are all visible to me. Any notes that are inside of this, I should be able to have visibility of that as well. So there's 107 notes related to this particular service call. Obviously, I've used it a few times. So that's kind of the connection between the mobile application and the work orders. Giving your technician everything that they need, they're able to take signature from the customer in the field. They're able to take payments from the customer in the field. They have full visibility of the customer site, the customer systems, previous work orders that have been there, and they can also schedule work orders for themselves if you have techs that are on call for the weekend or over a holiday. Back over to Managely for a moment here. I'm not going to get too deep into these other modules just based upon time that we have here, but accounts payable would be everything about your vendors. If I were to go grab a vendor inside of here, it's going to have the same look and feel as everything else in Managely. So what we owe them, what we've got in the way of outstanding bills, all the transactional details, 90 open purchase orders, 32 receipts, 23 bills that we've ended up paying with 21 checks related to it. Inventory is also included in it. I believe in our alarm biller application, this was an option. So inventory is stored in warehouses. We're able to see a warehouse can be a physical location like my Michigan, Maine, but also be Bob's service truck. I'm not going to go a whole lot further into this. Welcome to contact the sales department if you'd like to do a personal tour through Managely. As I mentioned earlier, we're really just scratching the surface of this application in this short time that we've had together. At this point, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Julie.
Thank you so much.
See if I can make sure I give you a presenter right. Make presenter.
Okay, folks, as we're so used to hearing at a Biden briefing, your time's up, Mr. President. Please get off the stage. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give you 60 seconds to finish up if you need it, and then we have a bunch of questions. I want to make sure we sort of have time for them. Okay.
Great. Let me just wrap up and close by saying that if you want to learn more, obviously, please visit us at our email address here or at our website at boldgroup.com. I know that we did just touch the surface. There is so much more. We've got many things about partners that we've got integrations for, our open architecture, our API, like the list could go on and on. So I do want to thank you guys for the time today and look forward to staying connected. If you have specific questions about your specific product issues, we want to be able to have you reach out to us and talk to you one-on-one. That's probably the one reason that you didn't hear from us right off the get-go. We were touching base with customers individually to making sure that we were satisfying them versus doing a blanket statement. That was very important to us. And so we've really been focusing on working with each individual customer that had an issue and concern and tackle those first and foremost. So I do want to say that. Thank you, Ken, for giving us this forum to talk. And if you have questions, we'll be open to trying to answer those for you.
Do you have a frame with your phone numbers and email addresses so that people can reach you if they need to, or if I assume you're open to that?
Yeah, I think we had put that in the previous slide, so I need to navigate to that screen. So if you'll just
why don't you do that while we're because it's still your screen. You can still keep control and put your screen up if you want. But here's some questions. We have a bunch and we're really out of time. So can you keep an answer really, really brief? We have Sedona office and we have seen customer support erode significantly. When we open a ticket up, many times it is closed without a resolution. When can we expect getting back to consistent resolutions and quality of support?
So I'll take that question, Ken. Thank you very much, whoever asked that question. As Julie mentioned earlier, we have done some significant changes in our support department over the last 2 years. And I personally or Fiona Beckstrom should be the point of escalation. I would recommend that you reach out to Fiona directly to talk to her about your specific concerns and issues. If it is case resolution, closing tickets prematurely, anything along those lines, Fiona Beckstrom is your point of contact, and she would be more than happy to take your call. The other thing that I want to highlight, Ken, and I know you asked me to be brief, but this is important because this applies to all customers, is that we have implemented a customer dashboard through our Salesforce ticketing system where we can actually really drill into over the last 2+ years each and every ticket that you've opened and the time to close, what the issues were, and what we're seeing in these customer dashboards specifically is a very positive downward trend. And I'm not saying that whoever asked this question may not have had that experience, but we really are making decisions on staffing, on upskilling based on data-driven decisions from these individual customer dashboards. So Fiona can walk through you with you each of those dashboards that are very specific to your individual customer tickets that you've opened.
So some of these questions might be something that you want to just address extremely briefly. So how do we reconcile Julie doing the sales pitch when her departure from the company has already been announced? I'm just reading what I have, folks. So that's what we.
I'm happy to address that question as well. Julie has been a tremendous business partner for me for the last 2.5+ years, and she will continue in an advisory capacity in supporting our business as the SVP of product. And she will be consulting me and the rest of our leadership team to continue to make sure we have business continuity. I'm also very close to announcing a backfill for Julie, but even once that backfill is brought on board, and you all will be notified of that, Julie has graciously agreed to continue to serve in an advisory capacity.
Well, you're all great at your video presentations, your webinar presentations. So you got that going. I think most of the folks on the webinar would like Bold to address how they are going to improve development and implementation. Those seem to be the biggest issues today.
I'll touch on that a little bit, Ken, and I'll be brief. Listen, implementation and development, we are building a very robust process, much like you would find at Microsoft, at Apple, any other big software company, and we're building quality in at the onset. from an implementation standpoint, you have to be involved and you have to be willing to do the work to go from the data migration into the data verification and validation. So we need you to partner with us. And there is ways that we can improve that. We need feedback. So let us talk to you one-on-one and figure out where we maybe can do better. And we're eager for all of these questions to be addressed where we can. Please contact us. We're open, we're accessible. We want to hear from you. That's where we are anchoring our whole business around, is voice of customer.
Why did my implementation team drop my company before we were satisfied with the way the software was working?
Well, I feel like that's a very broad question that I don't know the specifics around, so I think it would be remiss for me to try to answer that. But certainly we want to recognize that there's processes where you go from our implementation team into working with our support team, and I would need to get into the specifics, so please contact us so we can talk about that.
Folks, they're on the alarm exchange now, so I might get a call from you and then I have to reach out to them. So not that I'm looking to do that, by the way, but that is one of the consequences of them being on the alarm exchange. Why is Microsoft Power B1 or BI data on my home page so inaccurate?
Well, it sounds like we need to work with you to make sure that your data is mapped correctly. And again, data integrity is a very important part of any organization being successful. So again, not wanting to talk about anything generically, but we need to work with you to understand where it's incorrect and make sure we get that corrected for you if it is incorrect.
What Managely modules are fully functional today?
Everything is fully functional. We would not go to market without it being there. We have a list of features and functions that are available to be addressed with each customer, but all 3 tiers are generally available and continuing to be innovated. I should mention, Ken, this is a SaaS solution, right? It's a software as a service solution, which means we will never be done with Managely. We are constantly going to be bettering it. We're going to constantly be innovating on it. So there is no such thing as done.
See, I hope you're not going to be like every software company I use. As soon as they do an upgrade, everything crashes on me. Why do I still have to work between 2 CRM softwares because all of the data that was lost during the conversion?
I can't speak to that without specifics. I don't know the answer to that.
How many developers are working on Managely other than Tom Utley?
There is an entire team specifically dedicated to working on Managely, and it's somewhere north of 20 developers that we have on staff to help us with that. Tom, however, is fantastic in front of people and is very conversant. He can talk layman and he can talk technical. So he's a great translator of the two, and that's why we have him in front of customers.
Does Bold have any position on ongoing question of remote operators? The operators working from home. These are central station operators. Any special software features to make this function safer, better, transparent?
We are complying with TMA in that regard and are very active actually in the TMA around that. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about that. It's not in line with this business management side of the house, but we would love to have another opportunity to talk about our alarm automation and remote.
Julie, from your point of view, do you think Managely is fully developed, and why nobody was upfront about development stage when the software was sold to us?
I think that's, again, a pretty broad question. I don't have an answer for you to that specific customer, but I can say Managely has been an evolution of the different tiers. All 3 are in market today. We are not done because it's a SaaS solution. We will continue to innovate. We will continue to bring new features and functions. And certainly if there are defects in the software, we're going to go back and remediate those, fix those, and make it more robust. Again, we're going to work with customers on that front. We're trying to build a very, very robust platform that customers can be assured are going to help them transact business. So we're working at a fever pitch.
How do you define simplicity in Managely when we have a lot of duplicate data?
Well, data integrity is different than a simplicity, so I'm not sure I can correlate the two.
Why do you have to enter the customer's billing information multiple times before the deliver button will have the data?
I think that's some feedback that we received from customers that was not as efficient as we thought it was. So we're working on enhancing that and bettering that. So that's great feedback that we've received, and we're working on a release that will streamline that process.
Is there a jobs module in Managely?
Yes, that came out in our enterprise tier, and it's a very robust one along with project management, and would love to show people more about that if they're interested.
Can you set up automated emails, like when an invoice hits 30 days past due, and can client pay deposit via link from emailed proposal?
Yes.
Errors in your customers see on a daily basis. I'm not sure what that's what someone wrote.
So Ken, perhaps I could make a suggestion. We want to address a lot of these questions. If you want to supply them to us.
We're almost at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, sure.
If a tech does not have access to data service for the day, can they still perform all their work in the mobile app?
It's a great question. And so I'm going to assume that they're asking about an offline mode, and that is coming in the first quarter of next year. We recognize that there are territories of the United States and Canada where, cell service is not as strong. And so you need to be able to do that. That is coming. That is not there yet today.
Do we have job tasks, inspections, and commissions?
Yes.
Everyone I'm reading this to you as I'm reading it first, so please excuse if I haven't screened it. Everyone understands software bugs, but the complaints have universally, sorry, my business comes first, 1 second. Everyone understands software bugs, but the complaints have universally been around very poor support and major system issues. You keep promising the future will be better, but quality continues to decrease rapidly. What is being done to bring credibility to your promises? Okay, well,
That's a fair question.
I think you've already addressed it. You've already addressed it.
Yeah, let me just quickly say this, right? Not all issues that have been addressed or brought to our attention are software defects or bugs. They're oftentimes data issues, and so we have to discern between a data issue and fixing the data for the customer versus actual software bug or defect. And so please know that this is a process. And again, if we want to have a customer talk to us about specifics, we'll do that. It goes through that life cycle that I touched on earlier, and we are building a very robust platform with a lot of capabilities. Let's talk about it in specifics. Reach out to us, please.
Why can nobody in your company tell me how to integrate my software with Stages? Something I was told was ready when I purchased the software. I've yet to get an answer over a year later. Okay, well,
I again need to dig into that one a little bit more, because we do have a full integration with between Managely and our Manitou product, our Stages product. There is a lot of hooks. I think where people think integration, there's a perception, and so we need to make sure that we're setting the right expectations about what's going to function on which side of the house. And if there needs to be more, that's certainly an opportunity for an enhancement.
All right, who can this person call and get some help with this today? You have a number for them?
Well, again, I would say go to our support organization, but Allison, maybe you want to touch on that.
How about phone?
Ken, I was going to recommend that, I know the presentation is going to be made available online. We had everyone's contact information, as well as I believe the 800 number was there as well in the deck. So I would suggest reaching out to our sales department if it's specific to the Stages integration question that was just asked.
You're building a robust process. Why did you sell me a software that was not ready? Okay, well, I don't know if you want to answer that one. No? Okay. That was, ladies and gentlemen, the last question. So you are now off the hot seat, and the presentation is about done. Last call for questions. You got 5 seconds. Last call for final observations from Allison, you and your team. Anyone have anything final they want to say?
I'd just like to thank all of the participants for joining us today. And to Ken, thank you for the opportunity, and to my colleagues. As Julie iterated, and I will reiterate, we are more than happy to address any customer's issues one-on-one and directly. The first point of contact should be Fiona Beckstrom at Bold Group. Also, you can reach out to our Bold Sales organization at boldsales@boldgroup.com. Thank you all very much for the opportunity today. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, everybody. And again, watch this again. It's being recorded, and reach out to them, and I'm sure they'll be very responsive to you. And thanks again for participating, everybody. So I'm going to close this out if I can figure out how to do it. Okay, there we go. Bye, everybody.